So I caught up and read the new release of a creator I really love that nobody knows. His name is Prentis Rollins. He's done a couple graphic novels in there, but he's usually just inks other people. And one of my favorite sci-fi books was a book he did called The Survival Machine. And he does generally little short snippets that are kind of socio-political charge pieces. And the blurb on the back of this says, it's a literary sci-fi glimpse into our future for fans of Black Mirror and The Twilight Zone. It definitely has that tone. I got to be careful and figure out how to describe this without too many spoilers. But basically, the narrative is coming from a man in his kind of late 50s or so who is a physicist, and he's coming to New York from London with his family, and it's mostly him just grappling with trying to not be a terrible person because he's an alcoholic. And through the course of him dealing with his family, sneaking away to have drinks, and this drama between him and his daughter, who never refers to him as dad but as his first name, Walton. They introduced the idea, this is taking place in the future, sorry, I missed that, that there are these weird floating black orbs that are horribly ominous, and they just kind of show up randomly, and the whole story is revealed through a series of flashbacks of him in his youth. And it turns out that after a series of bombings in the U.S., like in the 2020s, a whole bunch of prisoners were released across the U.S. And so the government decided to find a new way of taking care of prisoners. And it's essentially creating these mobile prison units, which are these black orbs that always follow a prisoner but move so that they can't ever see it. And it renders them invisible to everyone else. And it will hurt them if the prisoner does anything outside of what they're allowed to do. So basically, there's thousands and thousands of ghosts walking throughout the entire U.S. And people can just randomly see like these orbs, and the orbs have a horrible voice that just says, "Move out of the way.
Ignore me,
prisoner coming by." But then there's horrible setbacks to that. And the main character was hired to try and find ways to hack those systems, and so they could make it completely foolproof. And it's very dark and horrible as to the lengths that the U.S. government goes, and to what people are willing to ignore and give up as far as personal freedoms go. So it's a very, very interesting social political sci-fi piece. And yeah, Prentis Rollins kind of shows up like every 5 to 10 years, does a thing, and no one pays attention to it. It's published by a company that no one really pays attention to called Tor.
Tor.
Yeah.
Is that an anagram? Or not
I
anagram?
thought Tor
Books
was like
been around for a long
It's
time.
Tom Doherty Associates. They've been around, but it's just as far as comic book publishers go, most people don't know them.
I think they published pulp science fiction for decades and decades.
Yeah. So yeah, I highly recommend it. The Furnace by Prentis Rollins. I recommend finding The Survival Machine. It's one of my favorite pieces of sci-fi, and it's just good stuff if you want character-driven science fiction.
Cool. All right. The Furnace. Thank you, Chris.